Hi, and welcome to our third webinar of 2023. Today, we'll be talking about how to unlock the secrets of dental website conversion in 2023 so you can attract, engage, convert more patients and grow your practice this year. My name is Ian Cantle, and I'm the founder and chief strategist at Dental Marketing Heroes. We're a dental marketing agency whose mission is to help dentists thrive by generating a return on investment of 5 times or more so you can help more patients, so your team and your families can thrive, and so you can give more back to your community and worthwhile causes that you care about. Today, I'll be sharing information that, should you put it into practice, can make a radical impact on your dental practice. And here's what we're going to be covering. Let me just expand that screen. All right, today we're going to be covering what is a conversion, just so that you have a baseline of understanding about that and we're on common ground. We're going to talk about the misunderstood role of a dental website. We'll talk about who your dental website is actually for. Is it for you as the practice owner, or is it for someone else? We'll talk about elements every dental website must have to maximize conversions. We'll share the story brand framework for websites. This is a very powerful framework that you can use to build a powerfully converting website. We'll talk about the website metrics that matter most to you. And I have a special offer at the very end of this webinar to share with you. So to create a common place of understanding, let's start with what a conversion is. All right. Conversions happen during the buyer's journey. So every buyer, every potential and prospective patient is on a journey. They are looking for a solution to a problem that they have. What's unique about this buyer's journey today compared to previous years is that a prospective patient has many self-directed routes that they can take before they actually decide to reach out to a dental practice or an orthodontic practice. And the important part is to be present for you as a practice, to be present at each of these decisions that the buyer needs to make. But to simplify this journey, because it's a convoluted mess, because it's a self-directed journey that most patients are on, let's look at it in a more traditional straight line. And there's two types of conversions to consider. There's macro conversions, which are the large scale conversions for you, like, first of all, your new patient numbers and your billable services. The second type are micro conversions. And these are the conversions that happen at every stage of the buyer's journey that your prospective patient is on, the journey that they're taking. Because we're talking about website conversions today, we'll look at the micro conversions that happen on your website that eventually lead to the macro conversions that you are really all about. You want people to become your patients and you want your revenue to grow. For simplicity's sake, let's use the straight path journey so we can come to a common understanding of where conversions happen with your website. As an example, John is looking for a new dentist. He Googles dentist near me, and some ads pop up, some map listings show up, and organic results pop up as well. You're familiar with Google search results. He visits the top website in organic because that's actually where most people click. And he even clicks on some ads because they've just piqued his curiosity as well. He visits some of their websites. He checks out their Google reviews. He visits them on Facebook and Instagram because he's curious about how engaged they are in the community. He returns to the website of the dentist he likes the best, and he books an appointment. Fantastic. And finally, he comes in for that first appointment. So on the website, we have two very strong conversions that happen. We have phone calls to your office, and we have form completions. So we'll use these as our basis for the highest level of conversions on a website. Now let's dig into why you need a conversion maximized website. And here's a quote from Bill Gates. If your business is not on the internet, your business will be out of business. And at no time has this been more true than today. We all know it. In fact, during the COVID crisis, this became even more clear to all of us as businesses and as consumers. I've learned that, excuse me, not every dentist or orthodontist likes to think about their competition. Some even think that the competition is irrelevant, that if they just focus on their business, they will win. Nothing could be further from the truth today. What your competition does affects your business, and what you do affects their business. Because it's not just about being on the internet, it's about maximizing your presence and outperforming your competition so that your prospective patients find you and act upon finding you. The good news is that this is entirely under your control. You can essentially control your online destiny. Now let's look at how the role of the website is very commonly misunderstood, especially when it comes to medical practices and dental practices specifically. Here's a quote from Leland Diano. Your website is the center of your digital ecosystem. Like a brick and mortar location, like you have in your practice, the experience online matters once a customer enters, just as much as the perception they have of you before they walk through the door. And that's really important for you to know and to understand that your prospective patient's perception of your practice rarely starts with their first visit and even their first phone call to you. It starts online today. It's now, what is the role of your website? It is the only online property that you as a dental practice own online. You don't own your presence on Facebook. You don't own your presence on Instagram. You don't even own your Google business profile or any other social platform or directory. And unfortunately, sometimes those profiles can actually be stripped from a business. In fact, over the last 12 months, there was actually an issue with Google where it was decommissioning or suspending business accounts willy nilly. I don't know if that's a term. Anyways, ad hoc. And so some businesses found themselves in the uncomfortable position of no longer having a local business presence on Google. And that was a really big hit to the number of patients they were getting. But the thing you can control is your website. It's the property that you have full control over. The second role your website plays is that to be effective, your website must be the hub of all your digital marketing. And I would even venture to say all of your offline marketing efforts as well. Almost every effective marketing strategy and tactic that you invest in will somehow push the person to your website. In fact, all roads need to lead to your website. So you can see in this diagram, you have email marketing. Where is it pushing people to? It's pushing them to your website. Your ads, whether they're online ads, whether they're newspaper ads, whether they're even yellow pages ads, if you still do those things, should be, yes, of course, you can direct them to phone calls, but you should be directing them to your website. Search engine optimization, social media, your online reviews, your referrals. So if you're in a referral group like BNI or something else, even the referrals that you try to get your patients to do for you should be driving people to your website and your blogs. All roads lead to your website. The third role that your website plays is that to be effective, your website has to attract, engage, and convert visitors and qualified visitors, people that are actively looking to become patients or looking for information in order to equip themselves to walk that journey that we spoke about at the beginning. Otherwise, your website is just an online brochure rather than a 24/7 sales machine, which you want it to be. Remember, your website is a vital part of your patient's buying journey and a key retention tool as well. And lastly, your website is your 24/7 sales and customer service machine. It can help Your patients or prospective patients book an appointment, get info via a chatbot or live chat. They can find information that they're looking for. It can answer common questions, and they can complete forms and even start the process of becoming your patient or moving them through that. Even when your office is closed, your website can be actually attracting, engaging, and converting new patients. So we looked at the role of your website. Now let's clarify who your website is for. I feel like I have to say this, and not everybody's going to like this, but it's really important. Believe it or not, your website is not about you as the dentist or even about you as the dental practice, essentially. That's not who the website is for. Of course, it's about your brand. Of course, it's going to have information that's relevant to your point of view, but it's all about somebody else. It's not about the vanity of the dentist or the vanity of your team, although it can be used to attract new team members as well. Although I do recommend you and your team having high visibility on the website, remember, it's not about you. You are not the primary target audience. It is all about the audience that you want to attract and retain. So let's take a closer look at who that audience is. There's really three individuals or entities involved in your ideal audience. It's about your prospects. Obviously, you want to attract new patients. So it's about those who are searching for a new great dentist like yourself. Number two, it's about the robots. You have to align your website with what the Google search bots are looking for in order to create the signals so that Google will present you as the best option for a dentist when people are looking for one. And it's about your current patients. So those are the three most important audiences for your website. And if I were to add a fourth, it would be for prospecting for new staff members, because you can use your website for that, or a secondary microsite for that. Okay, we've talked about conversions, what conversions are. We've talked about the role of your website, and we've talked about who your website is actually for. And these three things are really vital to maximize your conversion. So now let's look at the conversion elements that matter most. Brian Eisenberg said, trying to increase sales simply by driving more traffic to a website with poor customer conversion is like trying to keep a leaky bucket full by adding more water instead of plugging the holes. It just makes sense. But I can't tell you the number of times we gain a new dental client and they have a really leaky bucket. It's very common. So let's look at how you can plug those holes and keep your bucket from leaking out conversions. It's vital that you present a core difference on your website. One of the biggest conversion issues we find on websites is that most dentists or orthodontists fail to create a clear and profound core difference in the mind of their visitor. So they really don't know what they're comparing, right? If everybody looks vanilla, how does a consumer compare one dentist from another? If they're just focusing on we do great dental care or we are a family dentist in this town, how does that differentiate you when every single other dentist is saying the same thing? The last thing you want them to compare you on is price or some other made up idea about who you are and who your competitors are. But price is always the default that consumers go back to. Number two conversion element. Does your website look new or old? This is such an easy aesthetic thing to look at. If you spend any time on the internet, you can very easily see when you go to websites, you'll very easily know if a website is out of date or if it's trending and new and works well. So, does it look like you're on the cutting edge of your field or not? Your website is the representation of the actual service that you're going to deliver to patients. So it needs to reflect that. There's a definite aesthetic aspect to websites, and it would be foolish to ignore that. The average website needs to be refreshed every 2 to 3 years to look up to date with other sites people find attractive on the internet. Number three, you must have clear calls to actions. Again, this to many people might seem so simple, but again, we see many websites that don't have this. And these should start with the ones that matter most, the call to actions that matter most to you from a conversion standpoint. The conversions we talked about at the beginning of this webinar, you want them to call you or complete a form to book an appointment. So those are the primary, what we would call primary call to actions. Number two, you want to have a secondary call to action. And this could be an invitation for them to provide you with their name and email address in exchange for something of value, like a lead magnet, a checklist, a guide to choosing a dentist, information about something being added to your newsletter. This will allow you to continue to communicate with them and build and nurture a great relationship. And even if they're not ready to buy, which is usually the sign when they click on a secondary call to action, you're nurturing that relationship to move them forward. You also want to include an always present key call to action. You want your phone number and book an appointment link to be available all the time. So at the top of your screen or at the bottom of your mobile phone, you want it to be visible at all times. So when they're ready to click to take the action you want them to take most, it's super easy. They don't have to hunt for it. Boom, they're calling you or they're making an appointment. To help you track your return on investment, it's vital that you have tracking and reporting mechanisms for your key calls to actions, these key conversions. This is the only way you can truly know your return on investment and improve it over time. You then want to share social proof that you are an awesome dental or orthodontic clinic. You do this by sharing the reviews from existing patients. Or if you can't do that, because some states or provinces don't allow that, then share your overall rating and the number of reviews. It's good when we can say great things about what we do as a business, but it's enormously more powerful when it comes from somebody else who is actually a real patient or a real customer. Studies show that reviews play a huge part in buying decisions, and it will benefit your practice greatly to include these proof points. A great way to build trust is to show the associations, the brands, the awards, the accolades that you've received as authority builders in your space. It's an easy thing to do, but it's often overlooked. Number six, having content on your website that speaks to the common issues, the challenges, the pain points that your patients experience, and how you solve them is a fantastic opportunity to show up for Google searches related to these and to also help patients and prospects understand that you can help relieve their pain. You can take it away for them. And when someone is in pain, they are a motivated searcher and a motivated patient. Number seven, using video to introduce your practice to prospective patients is a powerful human to human connection. Video has been shown to break down barriers and grow trust while raising conversions. Use it well, and it can be an extremely powerful tool in your conversion arsenal. The key thing to remember here is to use video that's relevant to the stage of the marketing journey or the buyer's journey that those people are on. So in the right places, video can help move them along and answer their questions. Number eight, your another vital conversion element on your website is you need to have clear, easy, shallow navigation for people and for robots. The interesting thing that most people don't understand is that Google, the Google algorithm, when it crawls your website, it actually looks at the navigational structure and it attributes more power to the pages that are in your navigation. So if you have hidden pages that don't show up in your navigation, that will actually not be a very strong signal to Google. But if they're in your navigation, if you do internal linking on your website, that will actually help you. So that's the robot side. On the people side, you have to make it super easy for people to find the information that they're looking for. Again, it's pretty common sense and it's pretty standard practice now, but it is amazing how many times we come across websites that don't have easy, clear navigation for the user. Number 9, social links. Having social media icons and links on your website shows that you're community focused, that you're timely, that you're engaged with your patients on the platforms that mean the most to them and where they spend time. It also provides additional links of relevance for Google. Google's looking for these interconnections between your business so that it can understand where you are online. And so having these links that are on your website makes it a powerful signal. Number 10, your services. You have to outline your services on your website. It seems obvious. You cannot assume that everybody who comes to your website or even an existing patients understand the breadth of the services you provide. This information is really powerful from a visitor standpoint and even more powerful from an SEO, search engine optimization standpoint. What's not as obvious is that the link structure and interlinking of these services within your website and how your blog posts on those topics linking back to the service is a powerful signal to Google of what you offer so you show up on more search results. Your blog. A lot of businesses find it really hard to keep up a steady flow of blog posts, but blogging is often misunderstood as something that hobbyists do, but blogging is just another term for posts on your website. You have two types of content. You have pages and you have posts. And posts are really the fresh type of content. You don't update your pages very often, but you update posts on an ongoing basis. And freshness matters. Google values it and people value it. And this is where you can start to dig deeper into topics and searches and pain points that are very, very specific to people's needs. As a marketing consultant, this is a key strategy that we use for SEO to show up for powerful, what we call long tail keywords that have less competition associated with them and ultimately helps you get more patients and show up on more search results. And a super footer. This is powerful, but it's often overlooked. It's really just another linking signal and linking structure for Google so that it understands here's all of the major pages on our website. Here's our contact information. Here's some blurbs about our practice. Here is our logo, and here's contact information, as well as our copyright information. And all of that should be kept up to date. Don't overlook this. This simple thing can be an SEO powerhouse. Number 13, your follow-up. So even though this isn't part of the conversion that happens on the website, this is vital from the buyer's journey. Think about it. It's a relationship. You cannot disassociate what you do from a marketing standpoint with the actual relationship you're building with a prospective patient or with an existing patient. Your follow-up is what happens after they connect with you. Follow-up isn't directly related to your website, except you can't lose sight of the actions you should perform after someone takes an action on your website. When someone actually steps out and takes an action, it is one of the times when they are most likely to take further actions. So you owe it to yourself and you owe it to that prospective patient once they take an action to be sure to have a well thought out nurture sequence that follows up with them, even if it's a phone call, that your people can put them into this nurture sequence that reinforces your core difference and reinforces the value of you as a dental practice and what makes you different and the services you provide. SEO, I've referenced it in other parts of this, but search engine optimization is one of the biggest conversion elements that you have available to you on your website. Studies have shown that searchers that click on organic results are more likely to act, and the only way to show up at the top of those search results on Google rankings is to optimize your website to the max. For our clients, we find that SEO return on investment is significantly higher than paid traffic return on investment. Usually it's 3 times higher than paid traffic. Okay, this is getting a little bit nerdy, but it's really important. About 2 years ago, Google announced an entirely new aspect to their algorithm called Core Web Vitals. And I'm still surprised at how many websites haven't optimized their website for this. Your website has to be mobile optimized. Google years ago, like we're probably talking 5 to 6 years ago, moved to a mobile first optimization algorithm. And this means that if your website was built before that and it wasn't optimized to look great on a mobile phone, to come up very quickly, that it's actually not going to rank very well in the Google algorithm. The thing you need to understand about the Google Core Web Vitals is that it's all about the user experience on your website, which is great. Google's looking at the right things. And so it's giving higher rankings to the websites that do these right things to give better experiences to the user. The things that Google looks at are pretty technical, but they must be done in order for your practice to rank well. And the things you on the screen are 3 of the core elements that Google's looking at, and I won't go into detail, but just know it's about how your website performs and what that experience is for the user. Now that we've looked at these key elements, I want to walk you through what I've found to be one of the most powerful website and landing page frameworks available. Now, this isn't focused on SEO, it's all focused on the user experience. And it uses a framework called the Story Brand Framework. You can learn more about Story Brand by Googling it or picking up these books by Donald Miller. Building a Story Brand is the seminal work on this concept and framework. The second book I'd recommend by Donald Miller and with Dr. J.J. Peterson is called Marketing Made Simple. And that's where they actually take the Story Brand framework and they apply it in a very practical step-by-step guide. The entire premise of Story Brand is that you need to bring clarity to your messaging, because if you confuse, you lose. So let me explain briefly what the Story Brand framework is. Essentially, it helps businesses clarify their message and engage with their target audience. It is based on the idea that customers are the hero of the story, and the business should position themselves as the guide that can help the hero achieve their goals. Let me say that again. The hero in this story is not the business. The hero in this story is the customer, the patient. The guide is you, the business, the dental practice. The framework involves creating a clear, compelling narrative that resonates with the patient, using a simple formula that involves identifying the customer's problem, offering a solution, and demonstrating the transformation that the customer will experience as a result. By using this framework, dental practices can create a more effective and engaging brand message that connects with your audience and drives results. It's totally conversion focused. Story Brand is based on the best stories that we're all familiar with, and it's a structure that captivates your audience and moves them to action. And you can create your own story brand script, which is what it's called, for free at mystorybrand.com. So just to reiterate, using this diagram, you have a character. The character has a problem. They meet a guide who understands their fear. That's you. The character is the patient. You give them a plan as their guide, and it calls them to action. and it results in comedy or tragedy, or pro or con, right? They're either going to have their pain resolved, or if they don't choose well, something bad is going to happen. So let me walk you through how this translates. This story brand framework translates into a wireframe for a web page or a landing page. And I want to give credit for this diagram to creativeO.com, who's a story brand certified guide. So it all starts, you have your brand at the top. We talked about this a little bit in the elements section. You've got your navigation and you've got your key call to action, and it's always available to the user. Then you have your clear and concise core difference. This is a statement of what you offer, the solution you provide, what you bring to the table. And then you have your direct call to action. That's your primary, and a secondary call to action as well. Usually this section up here would be like a video. And then you have elements of success. So what does an element of success look like for your patient experience? What are they going to experience when they come to you? What is it costing a patient to not come to you as a dentist? And you would highlight the pain points, the things that are common that people looking for a dentist have. Then you would talk about what value will your patient receive if they come to you as a dental practice. And you have those 3 value headers at the bottom. This is a great section in order to have another video that supports this. You have authority logos of past clients. In this case, it would be reviews, right? What reviews or testimonials do you have from existing patients? More reviews. Sorry, the last thing I switched those up. The first one, authority, would be your authority logos. So those would be your dental association awards you've won. Those would be, are you part of the Better Business Bureau? All those kind of things. Then we move on to testimonials. My apologies. Then we talk about your process. What is the process to become a patient? And you want this in as few steps as possible. You want this to be a 3-step process where you walk them through the process of getting where they are today to having their problem solved. Then you talk about who you are as a dental practice. And this is a long form paragraph where you can talk about that. You can do pricing options. I wouldn't suggest it for most practices. But if you have a special offer, that's a great place to have it. And then your lead generating asset. So this is your secondary call to action. This is where, okay, they're not quite ready to choose us as a dentist, but we want to get them into a relationship with us. We want to be able to capture a little bit of their information, like their name and their email, so that we can begin to nurture this relationship and put them into a lead nurturing flow. And then you have your super footer that we've already talked about. So that's in essence how you would apply the story brand structure or framework to your website or a landing page. Again, it's a very powerful way to do it, and it gives you a proven way to implement what StoryBrand provides, which is raised conversions and engagement. Now, excuse me, we have talked about what conversions are. We've talked about the role of your website. We've talked about who your website is for, and we've looked at the most important website elements that you need for conversion and how the StoryBrand framework can help you engage and convert more visitors. Now, let's look at how you measure and track success with the most important website metrics and the tools you can use for tracking and measurement. Peter Drucker, often referred to as the father of modern management, stated, "What's measured improves." So in order to ensure you're measuring the right things so that you can improve your conversions, let's dig into the website metrics that matter most to you and how to measure them. The tools that we find most helpful for measuring website performance are Google Analytics. It's a free tool provided by Google. If you don't know about it, you just need to have a Gmail account to set up a free analytics account. You need to place a script in the right place on your website, and boom, it's tracking metrics for your website. It is the most commonly used website analytics tool, and it offers a lot of data that most businesses will need. The second one is called Google Search Console. This, if you want to dig deeper into what's happening with your website and how Google perceives the health of your website, this is another free tool from Google, and it gives you insights into how Google views your website, the health of it, what's been crawled, are there errors that Google's seeing, because these are valuable insights that you can use to raise attraction and conversion on your website. The third one is one that we use. This is a paid service, and it's called SEMrush. And we use it because it's really powerful for tracking a website's performance against key competitors. So not only do we want to look at how Google views you, and not only do we want to look at how Google Analytics is saying your website is performing against itself, because that's essentially what it's doing. We want to know, how is the website performing against competitors? How are we tracking and improving against competitors for the major keywords that we want to rank for? And this is a great tool to use for that. And of course, if you're working with a dental marketing partner like Dental Marketing Heroes, we would be providing the key metrics for you and also providing insights from that data. So you don't even have to worry about the tools or access or setting this up, or even understanding how to read and measure and optimize these tools. But just so you understand what Google Analytics looks like and what data is available to you for free, I wanted to walk you through it. So what you see on your screen is Google Analytics 4. This is the newest and most up-to-date version of Google Analytics. But just in case you have the older version, if you haven't upgraded to version 4, you actually have to go through a process within Google Analytics to update from the old universal version, which is version 3, up to version 4. You have to do that immediately, because Google Analytics 3 is going away in June, and you want to make sure that your website is still tracking and measuring data. So the dashboard that I'm sharing on my screen right now, it's called the Acquisition Dashboard, and it allows you to select the time period you wish to look at. Usually I recommend looking at the last month and comparing it to the prior month, but then also comparing it to the prior year, because then you take out the aspect of seasonality. You're comparing May 2023 or April 2023 versus April 2022. And it takes out some of that seasonality, which is really powerful, because not every month performs the same, as we all know in the industry. The top left chart shows you a trending chart by day of the month, and it shows the different types of traffic to your website, which also corresponds to the chart on the right and the table below. As you can see from the chart on the right, this particular website has fantastic SEO. Organic traffic is its top source, which every website should be. It's almost 1,000 visitors per month, and that number has increased significantly compared to the prior year, which is the light blue bar just below it. But from this chart, you can see the different forms of traffic, the channels that come to your website, things like organic search, direct traffic, unassigned traffic, referral traffic, and paid search. And I won't go into all the details about this. And if you had a really big social media presence, you might have social traffic. Now let's look at the data table at the bottom. This is where the meat of the report is. The top row shows the type of data we're looking at, the key metrics for the website, and the left column shows the traffic channels and the periods of time for the data in the table. Users, the user column, represents the number of unique people that have visited your website in that time frame. Sessions shows the number of unique website sessions to your website. Both of these are relevant because you can see that there are more sessions than users. This means that a percentage of people are returning to your website, which is a good thing. Engaged sessions represents the number of sessions that lasted more than 10 seconds, or had a conversion event, or had 2 or more page views. This is a standard out of the box way that Google looks at engagement. In Google's eyes, this represents a user or a visitor who was engaged on your website. They didn't come to your website and immediately left. They stayed on the page, they did some actions, they went to other pages. And I would suggest that this is the absolute bare minimum of engagement. And it's not conversion focused, it's just showing that you are attracting actual people that are actually spending time on your website. But it's still, even though it's not super powerful, it's still a helpful metric to understand. And you'll actually see that as we move from left to right, we're kind of getting deeper and deeper into, if you were to look at this as an engagement funnel, at the top is just the people. The people are coming in, the people might come in multiple times, and then they're engaged. And then we'll start looking at some of the other columns here. Average engagement time per session. This is the amount of time on average that users spend on your website by channel. You can look at it down those rows and see which channel is actually producing the most amount of time for people to visit. This is really powerful, especially if you're paying for advertising, online advertising, because usually online advertising does not have the sticking power as organic search. So, in order to help understand your return on investment, it's really powerful. And also for the improvement of your ads, it's really powerful to understand and look at that on an ongoing basis. Engage sessions per users. This is the number of sessions that users engaged on average. So again, this is just another metric using the Google engagement metric that I talked about a couple ago of how many users are actually engaged. So instead of looking at it from a session standpoint, it's engaged sessions by user. Then we have events per session. Now, events are a little bit funny in Google Analytics 4 because you can set up events that are specific to your business and that you want to track, but Google also sets up its own types of events. And so it's really important to understand what those events are and to be able to make sure that you use relevant ones that are important to you. Engagement rate. This is the percentage of engaged sessions divided by the total sessions. So if you take the engaged sessions and divide it by this number, you get this number. And again, it's just another metric very quickly so you can scan and see, are we improving or are things getting worse? Event count. Again, it's using the events we talked about 2 ago, and it's saying how many events are happening from all of the different sessions and all of the different users that came. Now, conversions, even though this website that I'm actually showing you didn't have conversions set up at the time because they were fairly new to Google Analytics 4, the ones you want to track for your dental practice are the number of calls from your website and the number of form completions from your website, whether it's booking an appointment, whether it's signing up for a newsletter, whether you decide what are the most important conversions, and you can set that up in here and it will tell you every month how your conversions are growing or diminishing. The last column you don't need to worry about because that's actually an e-commerce metric. If you were selling things online, Google could actually track that for you. Now, all of these metrics can be very valuable to determine how your website is performing. And I'd suggest that if you're just getting started, that the most important metrics to pay attention to are the number of users and sessions, the engagement time, engagement rate, and conversions. If you even look at just those metrics, you will have a lot more knowledge about your website and how it's improving over time and the things you need to focus on in order to improve it. If you track this data and compare it over time, you'll know how your website is performing and you can actually take time to improve it. So we talked about a lot of things. We talked about different things that can powerfully impact your website and the conversions from it. But let's simplify it. The way to maximize your website conversions is to understand the role of your website, then to know your website's 3 audiences, then to leverage the 15 vital website elements and to leverage them in something like the Story Brand Framework, and then track and improve your key metrics. And I find that most businesses lack the expertise to do this in-house. And luckily, that's where my team and I come in. We're here to help practices get a great return on investment from every marketing dollar they spend. And we find that when we implement our comprehensive marketing engine into their practice, we consistently achieve a greater than 5 times return on investment, sometimes in hundreds times. And conversions are key to this formula in doing that. So if you're interested in learning more, please schedule a free marketing consultation with me. And if you're feeling like your current website isn't performing well, or are your new patient numbers low, or does it seem like that you don't get a lot of phone calls or form fills from your website, or have you looked at your organic traffic in Google Analytics and it's not your top channel for traffic? Or your organic numbers are low or they're diminishing. Or maybe you're seeing lots of website traffic, but you're not seeing the conversions into patients that you'd like to see. And if you're experiencing or feeling any of these issues, then you owe it to yourself to have your website reviewed by a professional. And the great news is that we'll provide a free website review for you just for attending this webinar. And this is where we'll review your website, determine how it's performing, and what you can do to get more out of it. If you'd like to take me up on this offer, simply scan the QR code or visit the web address you see here and complete the request form. I'd love to help you attract, engage, and convert more visitors into great patients. Okay, we've talked about what conversions are. We've talked about the role of your website. We've talked about the key elements you need to introduce and the Story Brand Framework and the metrics to track. These are all vital to maximizing conversion. Now let's take a look at what is upcoming from our next dental marketing education. I'd like to invite you to join us for the next webinar in this series that will cover the important topic of revving up your dental practice growth, the ultimate guide to skyrocketing your lead flow with pay-per-click and Google Ads. So if you're curious about how you can leverage Google Ads better than you have up till now, whether you've done some and haven't experienced great results, or you want to dip your toe into it, this is a fantastic webinar to learn more about how to drive more traffic to your website, generate more leads for your dental practice using pay-per-click and Google Ads. And our team of experts will cover everything from the basics to advanced strategies with real-life case studies. Don't miss out on this opportunity to take your dental practice growth to the next level. Register now. You can find the link on our website, dentalmarketingheroes.com. And that webinar is on Friday, May the 5th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So until next time, thank you for joining us today, and keep calm and market on.